Brad, Henry, and Mick Cornett today. So it's got to be good things, right?
Yeah.
Your life.
And then they
All right, we're going to go ahead and begin tonight's City Council conference. It's actually a joint City Council and Norman Forward Senior Center Ad Hoc Advisory Group conference, and we'll be discussing the Senior Center project. And I believe we're going to begin with a presentation.
Yes. Thank you. I'm going to at least open the meeting for the ad hoc committee and introduce the members.
Yes, that would be great.
Probably most of you know who they are, but we would like to open a regular meeting in terms of being in front of you all and talk a little bit about this project. So I'm Dr. Gail Hobson. I'm chair of the ad hoc committee, and members here are, I know, Julie Dudson, Nadine's here. Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, we're slight tonight. I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
There are just three of us here. These two?
Okay, Nadine, Julie, and yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Usually we have more, so I'm not sure what that's about. But anyway, we're here. And there are other seniors in the room that, of course, you all know that have been involved for many years in different groups in terms of this work. But we asked for this meeting to come in front of you all to really talk about reflect on some frustrations that come from the committee members, long-term members, in terms of where we go with financing. Just like every project, we want more than maybe is available, but we would like to make sure that we're asking the right questions to hopefully fund and make this as beautiful and large a facility, or at least as beautiful facility and complete as we can. So that's our interest, and thank you for hearing us.
So I'm going to take it from here and just review very quickly just some background, kind of how we got to where we are at this point. And then I'm going to turn it over to John Sempner with FSB Architects, and he's going to show you some more information that's in your handout and go over some of the preliminary work and proposals that are being worked on. So this group started on September 4th of this year with the first ad hoc group meeting with the design team. We discussed the timeline for the project and the budget that was available. That's a $7.6 million budget that you'll remember was made available through reallocating Norman Forward funds that were set aside originally to purchase the Griffin soccer complex property. Of that 7.6 million, 1.6 is design fees, site improvements and site work and soft costs for the project. These are estimates, of course, and about $6 million available for construction costs. On September 17th, the ad hoc group had another meeting and reviewed some existing facilities from around the country and conducted a priority exercise, priority and cost estimating exercise. And then that was followed on the 18th with a public meeting where about 50 people attended, and the design team highlighted the public outreach plans, how we would go about gathering input from the public on this project, discussed the survey. They had a draft ready of the survey, which was subsequently amended and then sent out, and John's going to talk some about the survey results in a few minutes. And then talked about example programs and conducted another priority exercise with the general public, try to get a feeling of what people were wanting in this facility. October 9th, we followed up with another ad hoc group meeting, discussed the budget issues further, and voted. The group then voted, after what Gail had described a minute ago, to request a study session that we're here today to talk about with the council to convey their concerns about the budget. October 30th, we had a second public meeting where we had further input on the programming and facilities priorities discussed the survey results, the initial results of the survey, which had been completed by that time, and presented the first very basic and conceptual floor plan and site plan options and phasing options. That's where we have been in the last couple, 3 months. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to John, and I think he's going to start with some of the survey results.
Thanks, Jeff. So we sent out surveys through multiple methods and encouraged people to either take it online or write in hard copies. They could go to various places around and get a hard copy, or it was mailed to I think every registered senior voter we could identify. We got 1,324 respondents back, which we thought was a great survey response. It really shows the interest in the project from our senior community. One of the first and probably the main question I want to highlight is we listed out several programs that we could do within the building that we'd identified from the senior ad hoc committee and from park staff. And we kind of, just wanted to say, from this list, pick 7. And so this is a survey, this is kind of a graph showing those respondents back. So out of the 1,300, 830 of them picked indoor walking track. And I'll just read off the first 5. Indoor walking track, group exercise, educational classes, social gathering, and fitness. The 6th one, which is a little lower than that 5th, is aquatics, warm water pool. As you look at those first 5, really, if we do those the way in which we expect, and we were kind of describing them in our ad hoc committee, that's about what your budget limit is. When we could reshuffle that to move a warm water pool up, and when we did one of the ad hoc committee kind of scoping sessions, we broke into 2 groups. One group kind of did that. They pushed forward that warm water pool up, and one group kind of said, no, if we ever get a future funding allocation or a future expansion, that would be our first act. So kind of the survey results really reflected what those 2 ad hoc committee groups did, and we did that in an ad hoc committee group. The other kind of survey piece that we asked that I think is pertinent is outdoor activity priorities. When you look at that, of the 1,300 respondents, almost 1,100 said outdoor walking. When you look at the Reeves Park master plan, there really is some great opportunity to tie into those trails on the site and really have that on the site. We then fall off pretty rapidly down into kind of 4 different areas: picnic shelter, outdoor exercise station, covered vehicle drop-off, and gardening. In our last public meeting, the covered vehicle drop-off and some covered parking was really prominently spoken for, and in a lot of the comments we received during the meeting, we had them write them down. That was probably the #1 comment. So from that, and sorry, this is kind of a busy page, we developed kind of a floor plan of how those top 5 priorities would kind of lay out in a building, and then we sat there and did phases onto that building, so that at this stage, if we're going to we wanted to plan for growth, because if you don't build your core of a building right, you can never grow it. It's one of those things you can, if the main hallways, if the main lobby isn't large enough, you're never going to be able to expand that again in the future, or it's going to be very costly to do so. So we really wanted to focus on that. So as you kind of look at this main plan, I'm going to get up and the colors from here to here is considered phase 1. And so that would be our base. We really feel that meets your budget. You would have a nice kind of admin space, an open senior lounge, have a coffee shop or something like that in there, a large event space to that would partition off so you could have classes, educational, maybe some light type aerobic stuff. But really, when we talk about fitness, you're going to get a large aerobic room, a walking track around some weights and some dedicated stuff. That would probably take over the majority of that $6 million budget. To add a wellness pool feature, we've labeled it phase 2 there, is right at $3.3 million. Kind of, and we try to include everything in that, from soft costs, furniture, parking, everything with adding that much square footage. We could try to reduce some of the base bid and move that in there, but as you can see, when you're talking about a $6 million project, to take up about 3.3 million of that, that's going to be a major hit. And so what we're, I think, struggling to do is to try to say, you know, we're getting survey results, we're getting feedback results. Do we really want to, you know, cut so much of this to bring this feature in? I think the ad hoc committee is really struggling with that decision, and I think that's really where they're trying to request additional funds for a large piece like that.
I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
Is this Jenkins, like which?
So I'll flip through kind of the remainder a little bit to maybe orient you. So we went ahead and just kind of masked up this. I have two different masking options. In the bottom you can see Constitution. We've rerouted Constitution because we think they'll do that in the future. And so we're trying to anticipate a future growth where you take over and expand in that direction. So that's part of what we're trying to visualize and show.
Mr. Powell, how confident are we that Constitution's going to look like that? OU's changed a few plans on us in the past, and I would hate to plan on that and then have that change.
Mr. O'Leary, I know the sweeping S curve, we originally lined up with OU's decision to site the new softball complex. I don't know if that conversation has advanced since that initial location.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It has. We're in fact, on tonight's agenda, you have the Jenkins Avenue design contract, so that will be an important part of our process here. And in that design contract, we will be coordinating with the university on the relocation of Constitution. Early indications from the university staff is very much in favor of this, but the devil's in the details. Lots to do, lots of land transactions to figure out. And I think that's why the design team here is placing the primary portions of this site north of Constitution and planning for growth to the south as that evolves over the next year. But the Jenkins Avenue project will be finished with design about 10 to 12 months from now, so we'll know for certain within about 10 months exactly how it looks, which land parcel is going to which agency and so on. And you might remember too that the university is very active in the development of a new softball complex directly west of this intersection here. So they're very motivated to get this resolved as well.
Does it line up with the current alignment of Imhoff, plus or minus?
This effectively splits the difference between Constitution and Imhoff and creates one intersection
Got
that
it.
places two. So we feel really good about it. It's a good prospect.
Wonderful, thank you.
So, you know, to try to be clear about that, we will ensure that the base build works regardless of if that future relocation. We just want to design it such that if that does, you guys can take advantage of that future space at a future time.
Hopefully we'll have to build in a bus stop as well.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a quick question
This is,
about?
sorry, this is for council right now.
Okay.
But we'll see if we have time at the end. I want to make sure we get to the ad hoc advisory group. So let's get through the presentation and we'll hear from them.
So really what we're trying to move forward with is we're trying to get what a good recommendation to the ad hoc committee will be. We have a December 3rd public meeting in which we'll present these. We'll try to show this phased and appropriate for the budget. You know, this was, you know, an artistic rendering of one of the two options we were going to propose. This shows the full build out and the phasing on this, I'm not completely done with that yet, but kind of gives you a good idea of the direction we were going. you can see it incorporates some of the things of the portico share and the covered parking that were really requested in the last one. And then we have a slightly less contemporary, a little more traditional option, but kind of a similar massing. Brings parking as close as we can, which was important to the ad hoc committee. With that,
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Carter?
So I just did some quick math on per square foot. The initial building, phase 1, is $439 a foot. And then phase 2, $566. Phase 3 drops to $309. Phase 4 jumps to $540, and phase 5, which looks is $703. Why such a large variation?
You know, each space is kind of unique in it. Phase 2 has a pool in it, so to build a pool versus to build a rec room or a gymnasium is, vastly different. Phase 4 has a catering kitchen in it, so that's
Okay.
probably one of the more
Expensive parts of that, yeah.
expensive spaces.
So what's
phase
the Mac gym? Why
So-
is that so expensive?
It probably has to do with just the square footage, but I honestly, I don't know why
Checked
that
it
would.
twice, 703 a square foot.
It-
What is a Mac gym?
Oh, so that would be a multi-use or a court
Oh, like
gym
pickleball
for
and-
pickleball
pickleball.
and volleyball. It's not a full-size gymnasium for basketball. It rated pretty low when we talk about kind of where it rated on this list of indoor activities. Court sports down here is 6 from the end. So that's why, that was 5. That's probably I would like to, but probably not is required. That's one of those spaces that when you build a large gymnasium like that, you can use it for multi-use space and would probably drive towards that. But the height of that space is going to be big, and it probably just looking at that, that's probably a little higher budgetary estimate than it needs to be, but it's probably in the ballpark.
The senior, so back to your chart, I guess, so games, wet arts and crafts and dry arts and crafts rated higher than kitchen and senior wellness. Medical was not as important.
And it goes back to some of this, was surprising to us, but the results is, kind of were what they were.
I've tried to visit a lot of senior centers whenever I'm in some town, and I haven't seen one yet that didn't have a little medical room, where they could check their blood pressure or weight. And
I would say on the Northwest Oklahoma City one, which is kind of, people seem to think that that's one of the more successful ones in our region. They've struggled to get a medical provider in there. They have recently finally gotten, I believe, St. Anthony's to come into that, but they struggled with that for a long time. So that's been operating mostly without that service, although it was built with it. That really wasn't a service that was utilized, and that's a hugely popular facility.
yeah, one of the things that Norman Regional's reached out to us about is wanting to have an involvement in that.
Yeah,
so-
we discussed that on the committee, that would hopefully be a possibility to join with them and eventually add that.
And so on your building base, 5.5 million, and site costs are 800,000.
So that's the site cost is mostly parking and grading and utilities. There would be some small features outside, gardens and stuff like that, but they would be pretty minimal.
Any other questions, council members? Councilmember Bierman?
So a couple questions. First one is the dollar amounts here. How do you see that jiving with our current budget? is this all including the design cost? So if this is coming in at 7.5, are we nosing just under the 7.6 budget that we've set, or have we already spent some costs that are not gonna be included
So
in
the
this?
base building, and it's kind of washed out on the screen up here. It's kind of the peach color on the printout you have.
Oh, okay, I think I missed that part.
is your budget.
Okay.
And then each additional phase is up to an additional $7.5 million in addition to the original $7 million for the project. So it almost doubles in cost to add them all.
That's why I wanted to ask this question.
Yep.
Because I wanted to get
Thank you.
get those numbers out there. So, okay, I'm gonna go on kind of my one little point first.
Sure.
Which is, I really feel that if we're going to have covered parking, that covered parking then needs to be connected to the covered walkway.
Okay.
So if you're parking there because it's raining and you need it to be covered, kind of feel like it almost defeats the purpose a little bit to have a huge stretch in between where the covered parking is and where the covered walkway is. However, kind of back to what we're looking at here in terms of a total plan, I just gotta say I am really underwhelmed. Just generally, not your fault specifically. I'm thoroughly underwhelmed, and I honestly don't see how this is really all that much different than a YMCA with a small event space. So I really feel like we can do better. I like to put that out there without having an idea of how. But this is not what I was envisioning. I don't think that this is entirely what the public was envisioning, and if the solution is just more money, then that's what I hope we will look at. If the solution is more creative thinking and more talking and maybe fitness becomes something else for the first phase and we can do something that's a little more inspiring that makes people want to do a phase 2, I would hope that we can get there. So I will also say that I know that this doesn't include anything outdoors, which to me is part of the concern. That this is all just an inside facility, and we have a lot of needs and wants for outside activities as well. So I'm underwhelmed. I don't know how we do better, but I think we have to try. So
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other comments? Okay, we'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Hobson. Go.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would like to, if you, I'd like to give the committee members a chance to voice their thoughts. I know one thought I have, I know the pool is pretty significant, and I think that would make a difference. And we're talking about 3.6 million difference to get the pool in this first go-round. And I kind of think if we could get there, then it might meet more to your specifications and thinking. That's what I would think, but, Julie.
I can start. I have a lot to say. I apologize for that. The base building is not going to bring in anybody between 50 and 65. Done deal. You're done with us. You just wrote us out. There is nothing there in the base building that I can't go to whatever Fitness One is now, or Gold's Gym, or any place else. There is nothing to draw the age group that can pay the higher membership fees, which will keep this place running and functioning there. Okay. Number 2, base building. I don't see any restrooms or locker rooms. So if we are going to come there and use the track or the fitness center or the aerobic center, where's our stuff? Where are we putting our stuff? Where are we going to grab a quick shower? I don't see that. Again, I'm not going to pull anybody in without that. And my third one is actually a question. Mr. Carter, several of your constituents, I am president of the Seniors Association, and several of your constituents have told me that you specifically have told them there's an additional $3 million coming. Where is that coming from, and when will that be available?
That's not true.
When you're talking to people in their 80s and 90s, and you mention $3 million, they believe that to be true.
That's not true.
From the hospital bill, if the hospital is sold, if you all agree with that, then they were supposed to have another 3 million left or something that perhaps we could get, except I think, they talked about that it would go in the general fund.
Just misleading
It's
them.
maybe not to the seniors, but maybe you could get it into the senior building.
We feel that there's some inaccurate information being delivered.
So we just want to straight.
That is exactly true, what
And-
Nadine just said.
By it going to different groups instead of coming through the Seniors Association or the ad hoc committee, it's a rumor mill out there, people. I mean, seriously.
And I think if the seniors come, they're going to need a place for their arts and crafts and game rooms, a place where they can meet, and the card people especially are going to want a place. Otherwise, they might as well stay where they are. Because there's a room over there for them to play cards every time.
Councilmember Hall?
I just wanted to address your issue about the rumor mill and misinformation, and I definitely sympathize with you because I do think that's out there, and I think part of the reason why is because in the Inspire Health presentations that have been made all across Norman now, there is definitely an imagining of if the city of Norman decides to sell the acres of land that are available on the Porter campus, the health system CEO has been tossing out that as, oh, you could use that for a senior wellness center. And he is also tossing out there that you could do it at a different location and rethink that.
Right.
So I think that right there is the source of where some of that is coming from, because, you know, you hear just certain pieces of that without knowing the whole picture, and so I think that's where some of the confusion is coming in.
Right, and it's coming from a person of authority. So
Yes,
it's to be believed.
right, and that's just his imagining of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Councilmember Holman?
I'll just add on to that ever since the beginning of Norman Forward, when we first put the program together, one of the projects that we budgeted for, the James Garner Boulevard extension, we budgeted $6 million for it, and we've always anticipated since the very beginning that that project could very well likely be funded at least half by federal funds. So that would leave roughly $3 million that could go back into other Norman Forward projects. So the anticipated or the discussion about that was always, I think, 2020, 2021 maybe. But we had always anticipated that there would be some considerable possible savings on that project because of federal funding. And if so, that money could be put back into other projects like the Senior Center. And that's a discussion that we've talked about since 2015 when Norman Forward was first put together.
Do we have any updates on that?
Sean, federal application.
We are preparing the applications now, Mayor and Council, for submittal on December 15th. This involves the Robinson I-35 project, the James Garner project, many projects. So no updates except that we are actively pursuing that funding. James Garner has ranked really well in terms of a project in the sequence. We see it landing in around 2022 right now if we're fortunate enough to get that funding. Not sure about numbers yet. You're exactly right. We've always hoped that we could generate enough from the federal funding to leave some left over in the budget, but we're not quite there to describe the amount left over.
Thank you.
Well, we sure would like to be first on the list to request that, because obviously I heard someone say earlier, and I think it's true, that we're a great city to fund for younger people in our town, and we prioritize that, and I think that's fine. But the seniors, these seniors particularly who've been working on this for many years, really do want to do a first-class place, or at least get as close to that as we can. And in my thinking anyway, I think if we could get the pool in there, we could get closer to having a facility that would look like Oklahoma City, then we could grow that in terms of where we are, the location later on.
Can I just toss in one more thing? The warm water thing is a big deal. The warm water helps those with COPD, arthritis. I mean, there's a long list of things that warm water. There's a debate over salt water versus chlorine, but the warm water is a proven effect. And there isn't a warm water pool in the city of Norman that any of us can use at all. And so, yeah, it is a big deal. And it's a big deal with getting my age group in,
Thank
to be
you.
honest.
Councilmember Wilson, Scott, Drone, and Hall.
So my thoughts are that can we not play games where we do weights? I mean, in the beginning, can we? I know in phase 1, can we look at that where we kind of double up some? I agree that I think the pool is actually the warm water pool is actually what's going to make it a different kind of thing rather than any other community building, because you can play cards in the current facility and you can, there's a lot of, but those are the things that you can't necessarily do like in just any old building. So I'm wondering if we couldn't squish it into one place and then phase through the rest of the things, and that's just a comment from me. Doesn't have to take any.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Scott?
How much did the Norman or the new central library come in under budget?
We're not quite.
The final costs aren't in yet, but we're estimating it'd be $1.5 million or so under budget. I would caution council though about, where there are savings from some projects. The first concern is with offsetting the shortfall in the sales tax revenue in order to meet the projects at their budgets, rather than adding to any of the budgets, making sure that we can meet the budgets.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Trump?
Is it cheaper to build the phases together? So if we were to come up with a way to put phase 2 and phase 1, does the cost per square foot come down?
Yeah, no, so these numbers that I'm showing today are if you would all build them all at once. If you delayed any portion, there would be additional costs with that delay. There'd be some construction, some walls we would build today that we would have to then demolish in the future. So building it today is cheaper. There's also cost escalation. Construction gets more expensive every year. And so trying to build it now is going to be your best bet.
So these numbers by phase, I guess I didn't understand at all. So you are suggesting go ahead and build phase 1 through 5 at the same time? But with these numbers?
We're trying to give you an option of, the ad hoc committee's request for additional funds, what that could look like. So
it's not really a phase?
Try to give you representation of that in today's dollars.
Okay.
If you wanted phase 4 and 5 and year this, I could reallocate that, but.
Okay. Follow up. I'm wondering if the senior group has spoken on a consensus. I've seen letters and things that have been submitted to council about if you're not ready to build the pool as with the base and things like that, we'd rather wait. What
That is
truth
not a
in the rumor
consensus.
mill is that, and is there a
We are
consensus?
very split in our group on that. There is a group that would like to stop until all funding is available, and there is probably equal amount of people that don't want to stop, that want to continue to keep going forward and trying to find more money. We are very split on that. Everybody knows we need more money. Everybody wants more things than the base thing. But half of us are afraid that if we say stop and wait for funding, we will never get anything.
Well, and the reservation, of course, is prices are going to go up if we wait. And this has been a project that's been ongoing for a long time. So I would represent the half or whatever number, and more than that on the committee that would say, let's go forward with what we can do. And hopefully with an additional boost in funding to add the pool to this this project and get it on the ground.
Thank you. Councilmember Hall?
I wanted to circle around to the warm water pool as well. I've been following this project as I get more and more gray hair myself, and have participated at a lot of meetings, throughout the last few years when that advocacy has really been strong for a much bigger dream for the senior center than I think was originally imagined. And there was a forum that we had at the technology center, and everything that I've participated in, or everyone that I've spoken to along the way, even if they want other things, the warm water pool really does seem to be the element that sets the senior center apart from other things that we offer in town. And I know at that forum that you coordinated, Mr. Foster, that was just the overwhelming consensus of the people that were there that day. And I realize you're responding to the here and now of the current survey, but to me, that has been one of the overwhelming features of the senior center that seems to be really important to a lot of your group. Would you agree
I would
with that?
agree. And I think you'd make a lot of the group happy if phase 1 and phase 2 could be done together. I understand there's not $15 million to do all 5. I get that, and I'm not asking for that. But if we can find a way to do 1 and 2 together, because there isn't a large event space in there in phase 1, and there is the aerobics area that we could possibly use for a classroom or something like that for now. There is some room to maneuver in that. And if we could find a way to do phase 1 and phase 2, that warm water pool is going to be what draws people in and what makes people want to pay a membership fee. When you've got 10 Gym and Crunch that you can go to for $10 a month, that's going to have more equipment than we're going to have in there and more classes, like I keep saying, the 50 to 65 group's not coming. And those of us that are still working are going to be the ones willing to pay $25. I mean, on the survey, I checked $30 for a monthly fee because I'm still working and I'm willing to pay that. But after 67, I'm not. So I just think you've got to have a draw for this age group to help fund it once it's built. And I think a pool will help that, but I think a pool will also help. I can see Nadine and Betty loving that warm water pool personally, and I think it would be great. I have asthma. Warm water's better for me than chlorine cold water. Just, it would have been better for me my whole life.
Councilmember Scanlon?
I just want to pile on to what you just said. I mean, I hear the same thing in terms of warm water being important to this. I have another question, and it may be just a petty detail. But after telling me that the #1 priority outdoors is a walking trail, you never mentioned it again. Now, does that mean that the seniors are going to go free range in the park? Or
Really, really like that mental image. Just saying.
Or will there be some kind of a walking trail as a part of this? And if so, where is that cost?
So, the site selected was Reeves Park, and the Reeves Park master plan has trails throughout the entire park. There's a huge network. And so as we build this building, as we site this building, we will incorporate our sidewalks that they tie into that. We've located this directly south of the Great Lawn. So, just simply walking around that Great Lawn will be a great exercise for many of the seniors.
Free range.
Councilmember Patron?
Where was the kitchen?
So the kitchen currently is in phase 4. If you looked at the priority list, right after warm water pool, senior meals prepared on site was the next on there, but we did move it down to option 4. I'm not sure I can justify why that was not in option 3.
Can you provide us a breakdown as to like how much each one of these costs instead of like phase of here's a bunch of rooms and then the kitchen? I assume in phase 4 that's the major expense of that phase. So I'm kind of wondering
Yeah, absolutely. That would be one of the larger expenses, but it's probably about a third of phase 4.
And I think if I'm right, that doesn't exclude in the coffee shop having the ability to maybe bring over sandwiches and that sort of thing.
Right.
Right? The kitchen is more of a full that's what you're talking about, yeah. So that's the difference, and that'd be much more costly. So that's why I think it's down the road.
Councilor Wilson?
Well, forgive me. Tell me what you just said again, because I was going to ask that question, and I was all
Okay.
excited about my question, and I didn't listen to you answering it as I was thinking about it.
Oh, okay. Yes, we talked about a kitchen, a large, a full kitchen, as opposed to the coffee shop / snack bar, kind of healthy, hopefully healthy
So,
foods
like,
being there.
stoves
So with that,
and-
but, well, not necessarily, maybe microwaves. That
So
would be a
that's-
different,
That goes back to like in our senior lounge. There'll be a place where you can grab a
Yeah.
cup of coffee and maybe a light snack,
Yeah.
but it's really not
Not a
prepared
full
meals. In phase 4, we have a catering kitchen where somebody could come in and do large event type catering and really have a full kitchen.
So, but that would be my question, I guess, is full kitchen, catering kitchen to me is just like a refrigerator and some
Yeah, is it a commercial
counters,
kitchen?
but a
or-
commercial kitchen, is that where you can
when
cook,
the-
actual cooking can happen?
So in the dollar figure and what he's showing and then the term he's using, it would not be probably hoods. It might have, because I know kind of what he's thinking. It could probably have some demonstration type residential appliances in it, but it would not be a commercially viable place where you could prepare hundreds of meals. I think the anticipation that I've heard is that the existing user would likely is potentially willing to bring food to this location from your existing senior center kitchen.
Under phase 4?
that's for.
No, under potentially any of them. Under phase 1.
But a
So that you would have
$300,000
room-
kitchen in phase 4, I would assume is a commercial grade kitchen. I mean, you can have a house for that.
Yes,
And that's down the road.
but it is still not. There's a difference between a full commercial kitchen and a catering kitchen, and so this is probably on the lighter side of the equipment side. So it's not. You couldn't prepare meals for hundreds there. You could warm prepared meals for hundreds there, and that's a slight difference in what I said there. But it's not enough room. It's not enough. There wouldn't be racks of ovens and large mixers and things like that you would walk in and see in a cafeteria style. It is not that. It is a much smaller condensed version.
Anything else, Councilor Paterno?
I'm just trying to figure out what a $300,000 kitchen buys me.
So it buys you the ability to really cater events in that large space and not have that be out in the space.
Councilor Bierman?
Judd, this might be a question for you. What does the kitchen at the current senior center do? Who does it serve?
Prepares meals for seniors in Cleveland County. I don't remember exactly how many sites. I think it's 6 or 7 sites, I think, and they prepare meals there, serve some of the meals. I think they prepare about 450 meals a day. I think about 30 or 35 of those are served at the senior center itself. The rest are distributed to other locations, senior facilities in Cleveland County.
And when we build this new building, what are they going to do? Where are they going to go?
Well, it's just talking about the first phase wouldn't include a commercial kitchen, and so meals could be prepared at the existing facility and brought here and served as one of the satellite sites locations, just like they do every day.
So they're intending to stay there and continue operating
They
there.
can, and they would like to, yes.
Are we going to let them?
Eventually, they would like to be in this facility, but we see that as a later phase, like we've been discussing. And in the meantime, continue to use the existing kitchen.
So do we fund that existing kitchen? So we'd be funding 2 sites?
We pay for half of the utilities, and they pay for half of the utilities. We probably have to renegotiate our contract with them.
Who's
once
them?
The Congregate Meal Program.
Aging services?
Aging
Okay.
services.
Gotcha.
Right now, we split the utility costs for the whole facility.
Okay.
Once if we leave. Another thing we have been kind of talking around is, in a first phase, if we were to do the first phase here, we've talked about not duplicating services yet. So we have a significant ceramics facility in the basement of the existing facility. Let's not build that new and have two of them. We can continue that program at the existing facility until we can add it onto this facility, for example. And maybe some of the other programs as well. The kitchen would be one of those. Continue to use it for some of those services and until the time we can move it over to the new facility.
I am not opposed to that idea at all. I just wanted to make sure that the necessary services for seniors that that organization was performing was not going to be unduly impacted by us not prioritizing the kitchen in any first phase.
They've told us that they're happy to stay right where they're at.
And the director of that services, Tammy, she is on this committee. She's not here tonight, but she is very aware of that and willing to work either way with us.
So if we're continuing to use the kitchen over there and the arts and crafts, that means we can't really do anything with that building, right? Like we essentially have a senior center and a satellite?
Not necessarily, because the arts and crafts, the ceramics are in the basement.
Okay.
And the kitchen is on the first floor. And so the rest of the building or the upper floor of the building could be repurposed for some other use. Absolutely.
Councilmember Carter, did you have a question?
And my question was about the senior aging services, meals, and what was going to happen with that, so.
Okay, Councilmember Holman?
I was just going to say, I would like to see a conceptual of the building's orientation in regard to the entire Reeves Park master plan. And I don't know if you guys met with the medieval fair folks. That was a big concern of theirs, was it not going into their space and whatever. But so I wasn't sure what your thoughts on how you oriented it that way were.
So that's why if you
Where does
look,
that driveway come out at?
Yeah,
On the west side there.
if you look at kind of the background image, that is the master plan for the site. You can see the ball fields to the rest, the great lawn. Much more of it is off screen. We've tried to consolidate it down and get it as far southwest as we can, which is really why we're being pretty aggressive against the site. And I'm working towards a phasing plan that will show, before Constitution's realigned, what it looks like, and day one.
What it would look like without the realignment to begin.
Yeah.
And then the drive right there that's curving where the parking is, in the Reeves Park master plan, that drive is what connects how people get out or into the park, right?
Right.
Is that, can't tell how that's
We're
reflected.
still working.
Okay.
I'm not. We've redone it about 3 times. That
I would definitely, in that scenario, if the parking for the senior center is part of that drive through the park like that, I would definitely probably encourage a lot of the senior parking be on the same side of the street as the building, so they're not having to cross through that baseball tournament traffic or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
so.
that's a good point. We did meet with the medieval fair folks, and they were quite concerned at first, but I think we resolved that issue, and the design people have worked around making it.
Not yet.
Could I add one more thing and then?
Yes, but I think Nadine, I saw your hand go up at one point too.
Yes, well, I'm one of the negative ones, but I have the economy in mind, and I'm thinking if the only people that will be going to the plan that we have now, they're not gonna pay more than $10, and that's not gonna pay the utilities. So if that doesn't pay the utilities, where are we going to get the money for phase 2, 3, and 4 and 5 and what? Because it'll be after we've changed city council members 2 or 3, 5 years up the road.
22 times.
Maybe you'll stay, but if you don't, somebody else will have to come up with a few $1 million. Where's it coming from? If we can't get enough now, where's it gonna come from every year?
Good point.
That is a good question, and that's why we're in front of you all, because we, all of us would like to resolve that issue. The only thing I would add to sort of their thinking, and this, and I'm for the pool, for sure, but I think we are talking about apples and oranges here when we compare to a gym, because this looks so different in Oklahoma City when you go to the wellness centers in Oklahoma City. I think the design people know that, but my friends that go there know that. Because it's 50 and up for one thing. It's not, you're not going to have children in the building. You're not going to, for the most part, you're going to have people oriented toward what people our age want to do. So I think it is apples and oranges, and I think people will come. I think they'll love it when we get it off the ground. It may not have everything. I hope it has phase 1 and 2.
And a couple notes about the educational classes. One of the things I liked about the site, besides the built-in outdoor walking trails and whatnot, it's close to campus, the forum where they have the OLEP classes, which is designed for senior citizens.
Right.
And I know that pre-Daryl, we had talked about AARP grants, and I love the idea of outdoor exercise equipment, and we love the idea of Reeves Park, but we just didn't know where it would fit. So that could be a way that we could supplement some of the budget through grant money, which I think would be a big qualifier for that, but we just needed to get to this point. So I love the site, I really do, and I appreciate the work so far, and we all want the best too. I like to joke that I went for mayor when I was young so I could help build a senior center that I could enjoy when I'm older, and we have an opportunity to really invest in that. And it's difficult times for all Norman Forward projects right now, and I appreciate everyone's work on the committee. Norman is great because of the dedication of its citizens, and we've got some tough problems to solve. Any other comments? We have 2 minutes before I'd like us to get out of here.
Appreciate your time and all of you for listening to us and, hopefully doing what you can.
Okay.
I like the second design more. Or from the exterior look of it, I like it more than the first one. Yeah,
There you go.
We're doing
that
great.
one's all modern.
That sounds like the committee.
All right, council, you have 7 minutes until we
Second
begin.
one looks more
Thank you.
traditional. Sugar.
Oh, I know.
Senior